By the end of Swapped, it might feel like a classic animated adventure. A kid makes a mistake, goes on a journey, defeats the big villain, and saves the world. But the ending is doing something much deeper than that, because Ollie's story isn't about fixing one mistake. It's about understanding that every action, good or bad, creates consequences you can't control. When Ollie finally transforms into a Zoe, it's not just a power-up moment. It's symbolic. The Zoe represent balance, unity, and understanding between species. At the beginning, Ollie is the opposite of that. He acts without thinking about consequences, but by the end, he chooses to become something bigger than himself. Not for glory, but to protect everyone, including the people he accidentally harmed. That's the key shift. The reveal that Boogle is actually the Fire Wolf completely reframes the entire story, because suddenly Ollie's kindness becomes the very thing that almost destroys the valley. The Fire Wolf didn't win through strength, he won through manipulation. He understood Ollie's personality, curious, trusting, and eager to help, and he used it. This twist reinforces one of the film's core messages. Good intentions don't always lead to good outcomes, but that doesn't mean they're worthless. It's easy to look at the story and blame Ollie for everything. He fed the Javans, caused overpopulation, he introduced Piplets, hurt the Puku, and he trusted Boogle, freed the Firewolf. But the film deliberately complicates that, because those same actions also saved the Javans from extinction. That's why Ivy's revelation matters so much. Ollie didn't just create problems, he created life. And that's the turning point in how he sees himself. Ivy isn't just a companion, she represents the other side of the story. Through her, we learn the Javans weren't villains and they were just trying to survive. And more importantly, they survived because of Ollie. That realization breaks the us versus them mindset. By the end, Ollie and Ivy together represent something new, understanding through shared experience, they've lived each other's lives. One of the most important moments in the finale isn't the fight. It's when Ollie convinces the Puku to let other animals onto the island. This directly challenges their entire belief system. Hide today, alive tomorrow. That motto kept them safe, but also isolated. Ollie replaces it with something riskier. Survival through unity. This is the true resolution of the story, not defeating the Firewolf, changing how the world works. When Ollie dives into the water as a Zoe, it feels like the ultimate sacrifice, and emotionally it still is, because in that moment, he fully accepts responsibility for everything that happened. He's not trying to undo the past, he's choosing to protect the future, even if it costs him his life. The fact that he survives doesn't undo that, it just gives him something he didn't have before, a chance to live with what he's learned. The Firewolf is defeated in a way that mirrors the original legend. He's not just killed, he's trapped again. That's important, because the Firewolf represents fear, division, and control through power. And those things don't just disappear. They're contained, but always a threat, which adds a subtle layer to the ending. The valley is safe, but it has to stay united to remain that way. The Zoe only come back when Ollie calls out for help. That's not random. Throughout the story, they represent harmony between all creatures. They disappeared because that harmony was broken. So when Ollie brings species together, chooses cooperation over fear, and acts selflessly, he restores the conditions for their return. They don't save the valley, Ollie does by changing it. The film avoids a simple moral like curiosity is danger. Instead, it lands somewhere more honest. Curiosity is powerful but neutral. It can cause harm, create life, and change entire ecosystems. The difference is whether it's guided by empathy. At the start, Ollie is curious without understanding. By the end, he's curious and responsible. The ending of Swapped isn't about fixing mistakes, it's about living with them. By the final moments, Ollie accepts both the harm and good he caused. Ivy proves survival isn't selfish, it's necessary. The Puku abandon isolation, and the valley begins to heal through unity. And most importantly, no one goes back to how things were. Because they can't. Instead, they build something new. Something imperfect, but shared. In the end, Ollie's journey comes down to one idea. You don't become a hero by avoiding mistakes. You become one by learning what they mean and choosing to do better anyway.